days away now in this country, but prohibition is still firmly in place south of the border where the product remains illegal by federal law. That could spell trouble for Canadians with U.S. travel plans. BNN Bloomberg's Jameson Burko looks now at how even an indirect relationship with the drug could result in a ban from entering the United States.
Ashley Chinati is planning her wedding in Hawaii next year. But she's worried her work for a Toronto marketing agency devoted to the cannabis sector could turn her dream wedding into a nightmare.
I do not grow the plant. I do not sell the plant directly. I provide, hopefully, very valuable advice to people who work in the cannabis industry.
Marijuana may soon be legal in Canada, but pot is still prohibited as far as American border guards are concerned, and they say they haven't changed their policies about who can enter the U.S. That means any participation in the cannabis sector could be grounds to deny entry to the U.S., possibly for life. Even investing in pot stocks could raise a red flag. That uncertainty is unsettling for some Canadian travelers.
I think absolutely clarity is needed. I think that there's a lot of concern.
Because things are unclear and we're going to get caught for things that we have not participated in, that's not very fair.
Guys like me, we're kind of terrified because, even though we have nothing to do with it, we still do not want to cross the U.S. because they're scary people.
There are no clear guidelines about how much involvement in Canada's pot sector is too much for U.S. border guards.
They could turn you away because they don't like the color of your shirt, the color of your skin. So if you are giving answers that they are not happy about, they could deny you entry.
Canadians working in the burgeoning pot space are looking to political leaders to clear up the confusion. Ontario's Attorney General says they haven't made much progress.
It could be an issue going forward, but we don't have any clarity on it now.
Despite the uncertainty, Chinati says she's not willing to give up on her U.S. wedding plans just yet.
I guess the worst case scenario is, we don't end up getting married in Hawaii. I guess I'm rolling the dice a little bit.
Jameson Burko, BNN Bloomberg, Toronto.
You can find Jameson's full story on our website. That's bnnbloomberg.ca. And you can find Jameson right here, right now. He's going to talk more about us with this story. There's a real lack of clarity on this, isn't there?
Truly, Paul. And it really comes down to this arbitrary situation of maybe you get a bad border guard who's just having a bad day and they really can take many different discretionary moves that they could simply turn you away. They could make notes in your file so the next time you cross the U.S. border, you could face significantly more scrutiny. Or they could actually slap you with a lifetime ban. And you don't need to even have admitted to ever consuming cannabis at all in your life, even if, like Ashley in that story, she works for a marketing agency that happens to be devoted to the cannabis sector. That, depending on the type of border guard that she gets, might be enough to face a lifetime ban. And while there are ways around that, the challenge is it's very expensive. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 to get a waiver. And of course, it's about a year-long process to actually get that waiver. So her situation of having a wedding plan, that doesn't really help her at all, putting the money aside. And even that is only temporary. So you would have to reapply for a waiver every several years. It depends on what type of waiver you get, but it's between 3 and 5 years that a waiver would last, and then you would have to reapply if you're at all interested in going back to the United States at any point in your life.
What I recall is several weeks ago, a senior employee with the U.S. Border and Customs organization floating this idea that people could be banned simply for working in the sector.
That's true.
Have we heard more officially from the U.S. side on what the position is here?
I got a statement from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security that oversees Customs and Border Protection, and they told me directly that anyone who is participating in or facilitating the growth of the legal cannabis sector, whether that's in U.S. states where it's deemed legal or here in Canada, that could affect, and this doesn't really clarify it, but the term was that could affect admissibility into the U.S. So that doesn't necessarily mean you would face a ban, but I mean, part of the challenge here is, Bill Blair, the federal cabinet minister now in charge of border security, the former Toronto police chief, and unofficially the pot czar for the federal government. I spent the better part of the last week trying to get in touch with him to give a statement on just what progress, if any, has been made, and I'm still waiting to hear back from the minister's office.
Yeah, I don't see a real solution to this at all because the border guards like to have that discretion. They're not going to give that up, despite what Canada asks. Canada will say, well, can you limit this? They'll say no. I mean, they like that discretion as much as possible. To take that away, unless, it's coming down from higher up, it's not going to happen, I don't think. And another danger, I think, too, is people's phones, because they can access your phone. And if you talk about marijuana on your phone or something like that, they can just say, well, sorry, we're not letting you in. So it's not just have you ever smoked pot before, but
much broader.
It's much broader than that. So and they've said they're not going to ask these questions, but as you said, it could be just one border guard who's having a bad day and all of a sudden says, I'm going to ask a question anyhow.
There's no rule saying that they can't ask those questions. Very much to your point, Brooke, it's really about what you get at the border. And I think the challenge for Canadians is that level of uncertainty, and that even if you were to say seek legal advice from a U.S. immigration lawyer or a Canadian lawyer specializing in cannabis, they wouldn't be able to make it any more clear for you no matter what their hourly rate is.
Jameson Burko, and again, you can see Jameson's story on this subject, his piece that he's written for our website at the website, BNN Bloomberg.